In spring, flowers bloom. No one tells them to. A flower doesn't bloom because it wants to be beautiful, and it doesn't release its fragrance because it wants to attract bees. It simply blooms because it was designed to bloom. Salmon returns to the river where they were born. They swim upstream for thousands of kilometers, spawn and die, not to survive. Quite the opposite, they swim toward death for the sake of reproduction. And humans smile at the sight of a stranger's child, imagine the name of someone not yet born, and sometimes alone at night cry because of that longing. Flowers, salmon, humans, all reaching in the same direction. Why? Why do all these things strive to carry themselves forward into the next generation? Science has an answer, precise and cold. Life did not begin reproducing because it wanted to create offspring. It simply happened that organisms with structures capable of reproducing appeared by chance, and because those structures sustained themselves, they are still here today. About 4 billion years ago, somewhere on the primitive Earth, a molecule appeared that could copy itself. There was no consciousness, no desire, no reason. It simply drew in the materials around it and made copies of itself because its physical and chemical properties allowed nothing else. That was the beginning of reproduction. Richard Dawkins puts it plainly. We are nothing more than survival machines built to protect our genes. Genes have no thoughts of their own. They are simply packets of information that succeeded in building machines to copy and spread themselves. The flower's fragrance, the salmon's return, the human capacity for love, all of it, he argues, is a sophisticated tool the gene built to replicate itself forever. Hearing this, two feelings arrive at once. One is emptiness, so the flower, the salmon, and I are all just extensions of a gene. The other is a strange kind of freedom, because if the longing we feel is the gene's design, then it also means there is no moral obligation to feel it and no reason to feel ashamed of it. A space opens up to look at that longing without guilt. This feeling didn't begin with my choices or my failures. And yet, science doesn't quite deserve the quiet resistance that remains somewhere in my chest. All right, a flower might be the gene's instrument, so might the salmon, but I feel something that doesn't seem fully explained by that. I have imagined alone at night the face of someone who doesn't yet exist. And even after hearing that this feeling is the program of a survival machine, the warmth of it didn't cool at all. If anything, it became clearer. Science answers the question why with the question how. It can explain how a flower seduces a bee, how a salmon remembers its river, how human love is a pattern of neurochemical responses. But in the face of the question, why do I feel this so deeply? Science goes quiet. Explaining a mechanism and explaining a meaning are two different things. Perhaps that's because the question no longer belongs to science. Fire has no consciousness, and yet where there is oxygen, fire spreads to the next tree. Fire doesn't move toward the next tree because it wants to create offspring. It simply cannot do otherwise given the physical conditions. The reproduction of life is remarkably similar to the spreading of fire. Flowers simply bloom, salmon simply return, fire simply spreads. But there is one decisive difference. Fire doesn't watch itself spread. A flower doesn't ask why it blooms. A salmon doesn't give its journey a name. But I watch the longing inside me, give it a name, and sometimes cry because of it. Fire simply spreads, but as I spread, I ask why. I turn the question over. and somewhere in that process, I give it the name love. Have you ever thought about this? If there had been a gene that didn't want to reproduce, the organism carrying it would have disappeared within a single generation. Every living thing on Earth today is here for one simple reason. It was on the side that reproduced. Flowers, salmon, us. This perspective is ruthlessly cold. And yet, the fact that on top of that coldness, humans have built something called meaning, something called love, makes it all the more astonishing. The gene still knows nothing, but I, made by that gene, know something. I don't know why I love any more completely than the gene does, at least not by science's standard of completeness. The gene's explanation, survival, replication, continuation, is the most complete answer science can offer to that question. But that explanation has never once stopped the question in my chest. I know that I'm asking, that the gene which built everything that makes me ask will never know the question exists. I know that the salmon's journey moves me, that a flower in spring can stop me in my tracks, that the thought of a child not yet born make me cry in the dark. The gene made these responses, but it has no idea they're happening. A process that began with no purpose whatsoever created a being that asks about its own purpose. The word gift doesn't quite reach it. It's closer to the moment the universe first began to understand itself. I still know that all of this, every feeling, every longing, is the product of what science calls survival instinct. A strict materialist might go further. Even the feeling of meaning, even the sense that this matters, that too is just another tool the gene built, another trick to keep the machine running. Maybe I can't fully close that door, but here is what I keep returning to. Even if that's true, it doesn't change what is actually happening inside me. The warmth doesn't cool, the question doesn't stop, and the gene, which is supposedly built all of this, has no idea any of it is occurring. That asymmetry feels like something. We may, in the end, be nothing more than extensions of a gene. But what the gene doesn't know, we do. That a single flower blooming in spring is beautiful. That the journey of a returning salmon is something close to sublime. And that the act of imagining the face of someone not yet born creates a meaning that happens only once in this otherwise indifferent universe. And with that thought alone, I go on dreaming of a reason that no machine was ever made to have. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.